All right, welcome. Today, we're setting off on a really cool journey, one that could totally transform your backyard from just, empty space into a seriously valuable asset. We're going to break down exactly what it takes to build an accessory dwelling unit, or ADU, right here in Temecula. So let's dive in. So, let me just start by asking you this. Have you ever kind of looked out at your yard and thought, I could totally put a little house back there? Well, if you have, that's exactly what we're talking about today. And why would you even do this? Well, it pretty much boils down to three huge reasons. First, you can generate some serious rental income. Second, you can create a perfect private little home for family members. And third, you can add a massive boost to your property value. It's a win-win-win. So what is an ADU officially? The term stands for Accessory Dwelling Unit. Basically, it's a second, smaller, but complete home on your property. It has its own kitchen, its own bathroom, its own entrance, the whole shebang. But let's be real, around here in Temecula, you're probably just going to hear people call them granny flats or casitas. Okay, so now that we're all on the same page about what an ADU is, it's time for your first big decision. You have to choose your path. And there are four main types of ADUs you can build, and each one has its own vibe and its own set of perks. So here are your options, all at a glance. You've got your detached ADU. That's kind of the classic backyard cottage. Then there's the attached ADU, which, as you'd guess, is built right onto your main house. You can do a garage conversion, super popular for using space you already have. And finally, there's the little junior ADU, or JADU, which is a small unit created inside your existing home. Now, let's zoom in on the two most popular routes people take. You have the brand new detached build. This gives you the most privacy, the most space, and total freedom to design it how you want. But it's going to cost more. On the other hand, you have the garage conversion. This is by far the most cost-effective way to go, and it's usually way faster to build. Plus, you get some awesome bonuses, like no size limits and no new parking needed. Okay, every journey needs a map, right? And when you're building an ADU, that map is the city's regulations. Now, don't think of these as obstacles. Think of them as the clear rules of the road that'll guide you straight to the finish line. So let's look at the big ones you need to know. First up, size. So how big can you actually build? For a new detached ADU in Temecula, the magic number is 1,200 square feet. That is the absolute maximum. And to put that in perspective, that's plenty of space for a really comfortable two-bedroom home. Next, where can you actually put this thing? The rule is pretty straightforward. Your new ADU has to be at least 4 feet away from your side and rear property lines. This is a super important number to remember when you're sketching out where everything will go. And how high can it be? The standard height limit for a detached ADU is 16 feet. That gives you more than enough room for a single-story design, maybe with some nice high ceilings, or even a cool little loft space. Now for our rule that is an absolute game changer for so many people, parking. Normally, you'd need to add a parking spot, but there are some huge exceptions. You do not need to add parking if you're near public transit, if you're converting your garage, or if you're building a smaller ADU that's 800 square feet or less. This can save you a ton of space and, of course, a ton of money. All right, let's talk about the part that sometimes makes people nervous. The paperwork. It can feel like running a gauntlet, I get it. But the good news is the city has laid out a really clear 7-step process to get you from just an idea all the way to an approved permit. And here is that roadmap. See? It starts with you figuring out your ADU type and getting it designed. Then you submit all those plans to the city, they review them, and once you get that building permit, construction and inspections can finally start. The very last step is getting that certificate of occupancy, which is basically the green light that says you are good to go. And here is a crucial piece of info that you're going to love. This whole process isn't going to drag on forever. Thanks to state law, once your application is complete, the city of Temecula is on the clock. They have just 60 days to approve or deny it. That really helps keep things moving. Okay, you might also hear this term ADU covenant. It sounds kind of formal and intimidating, but don't let it fool you. All it is a simple agreement you make with the city that says two things. 1, you're only going to use it for long-term rentals, so no short-term vacation stuff. And 2, you're not going to try and sell the ADUs separately from your main house. That's okay. We've arrived at what is probably the most important part of this whole journey for a lot of you, the money. So let's break down the price you'll pay to build it and the prize you get once it's all done. So what's this actually going to cost? Well, for a new build here in Temecula, the total all-in cost is probably going to land somewhere between $150,000 and $400,000. Where you fall in that range really depends on the size, the fancy finishes you pick, and how much prep work your yard needs. And remember, a garage conversion is almost always going to be on the lower end of that scale. Now for the fun part, the prize. What do you get in return for that investment? Well, how does this sound? Rental income for a nice ADU in Temecula can go as high as $2,500 a month. Think about that. That's a really powerful way to pay off the project and start bringing in extra cash. Oh, but that is not all. On top of that monthly income, building an ADU can jack up your property's value by as much as $200,000. So it's an investment that can pay you every single month and pay off big time if you ever sell. And I know what you're thinking. What about property taxes? It's a fair question, and the answer is actually pretty good. Yes, your taxes will go up, but, and this is a big but, they don't reassess your entire property. The increase is only based on the value of the new ADU itself, which is a huge relief. So, if we pull this all together, what does the timeline for this whole journey look like? Well, from the moment you start designing to the day it's totally move-in ready, you should probably plan for it to take somewhere between 6 and 12 months. So there you have it. We've walked the entire path, from picking the right ADU and learning the rules, to navigating the permit process and seeing the incredible financial rewards. So really, the only question left to ask is yours. Is your backyard ready for an investment? Thanks for tuning in.